An AI-generated image of the Pope goes viral. The Wall Street Journal declares that the work-from-home era is over, and a giant mysterious space object is sadly not an alien. These topics and more coming up on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Shaw. Welcome to Today in Tech. Let's catch up with the tech news over the past few days. I'm joined, as always, by Chris from Behind the Computers. Hello, Chris.
Hey, what's up?
How are things?
All right. It's going. I'm looking forward to this show with Michelin Pope III.
Yes, we've got like a variety of different things that we're all going to meld together this week. Also, you're looking pretty good because you got another new light on you.
Yeah,
in the shadows.
Think, people will be able to see me.
All right, let's just get right into it. There's a fake image of the Pope that went viral over the weekend or even maybe late last week. This ties into our discussion that we had in our last episode about deep fakes. The one last week we were talking about was Donald Trump getting arrested, and then the guy put it on Twitter and it went viral. This one was also AI generated, but it did not. And it fooled a bunch of people, including the celebrity Chrissy Teigen. She was, I think, the person that was the most popular person that got fooled by it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I could have been fooled by this. I mean, hey, if the Pope's cold, wear something like this. It looks really warm.
If the Pope is skiing in the Alps, or he's over in Europe, maybe he's going skiing. It's still sort of winterish out there. At first glance, it looks real. At least the one on the left. The one on the right in the background, you're like, maybe that was faked a little bit because the guy on the behind, on the right side.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's sort of is a tip off that it might be. But the one on the front, like the front on the left, I mean, that image on the left came up in my Instagram feed.
It's the Holy Down. It's the Holy Down. It looks like a warm down jacket. I mean, yeah, it's very convincing.
So I'm on my phone and I'm just scrolling, and someone had put some text over. It was like, dang, the Pope looks good or something like that. And it was like, oh, okay, the Pope got a new winter jacket. He's a modern Pope. He knows what the kids are into. Or
he's hip.
He's hip. He's a hip hop Pope. So I thought nothing of it. It was like, oh, I'll just, and I kept scrolling. But what's in, and then found out a couple of days later, oh, that was faked, and haha, we fooled you. Now again, later this week, it's April Fool's, right? Mm-hmm. So, April Fool's Day is on, Saturday this year, which is actually great because I hate it when it's during the week because all of these tech companies, do the fake news. Yeah. And so imagine, or the haha, look how funny we are. Google invented time travel or something like that. And it's like they're meant to be April Fool's jokes. I'm glad that it's on a Saturday because any of us who monitor news, we often get duped by some of these fake press releases that get put out or whatever. The tech companies trying to be funny. But now I'm thinking like this year with all of the AI generated art ability, we're going to see a lot of fake images. We're going to probably see a whole bunch of fake stories, maybe generated even by ChatGPT, things like that. So this year would be the one year that I wanted to sort of be at work. And so we'll see what happens. And maybe we'll report on that in a future episode. The other part I wanted to ask you and bring up was obviously last week with the Donald Trump stuff, it was more political, which I think probably has people's radar antennas up in terms of, let's see if this is really true or fake, that kind of thing. People are sort of when you're alerted to something like that Saturday's April Fool's Day, right?
Now I do.
Yeah. So if I was to remind you on Friday, hey, don't forget tomorrow's April Fool's Day. Don't fall for any, pranks that your family might play on you or, friends or anything like that. You would be ready for it. That's what I'm saying. So people are ready for the deep fake sort of political stuff, but an innocent picture of the Pope wearing a puffy jacket that's less likely to be on your radar as being fake, and I think that's why a lot of people fell for it.
I mean, it's believable a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's a overly large jacket, but I mean, it's a down jacket.
Right. So I wanted to bring up a couple. So a friend of mine has is really into the whole Midjourney app, which is another AI generating art type of thing. And he posted on Facebook a couple of days ago. He's been playing around with it. He's got a ton. He said he's going to send me a bunch, but he wanted to send me the one that he put on Facebook was Pedro Pascal, the actor, who popular in Last of Us. He's the Mandalorian. You know who he is, right? Mm-hmm. So he posted a bunch of photos of him in different classic TV shows, and my favorite one that he posted was him in the Golden Girls. So he basically had the AI generate that image. Again, it looks like it was maybe a guest appearance, and then he put the little Golden Girls logo on top of it, so he probably added some Photoshop effects to it as well. But that looks like he could have been a guest star on the episode. Like, he's not actually one of the Golden Girls, but like he could have, like, that looks like him, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just goes to show how good the AI is getting, or AI algorithm, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But yeah, you can hardly tell.
So I think, you and I were discussing, like, let's see if every week we could find, an image that may have fooled some people and sort of talk about that, especially as we get closer and closer to the election, or, other types of things that get faked.
Yeah, we can have, AI of the week, or AI deepfake of the week. I think we could easily find something.
Right. Well, plus I've now got a Midjourney account thanks to that and my friend, and like I think those two images, the ones of Donald Trump and the ones of the Pope, were created on Midjourney, which is better than the DALL-E stuff, which is OpenAI, which is now in Microsoft Bing. So I think now we have a new leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, in terms of the AI ability. So. Speaking of ChatGPT, there's another article that came out in the Wall Street Journal that I wanted to talk about, and it's basically the jobs that are most exposed to ChatGPT. So there was a study by the University of Pennsylvania and OpenAI. They're the ones that created ChatGPT, and they found that accountants are among the professionals whose careers are most exposed to the capabilities of generative artificial intelligence. The researchers found that at least half of accounting tasks could be completed much faster with this technology. The same was true for mathematicians, interpreters, and writers. I was like, oh yeah, of course. Oh no, writers. That's what I am. But I'm also a YouTube host. So hopefully, YouTube host won't be replaced anytime soon. Basically, nearly 20% of the workforce. Now, this is going to cause all sorts of panic, I think. Because anytime you get, a study like this, people are going to look at, well, I'm going to lose my job, and it's going to be thanks to computers and thanks to technology, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if I called up an accountant and asked them about this, they'd probably be like, well, most of the work can be done, automatically, but, you need someone like me to check your work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I did my taxes all online this year, and it was probably a lot of it was generated by AI, and I saved a lot of money because I didn't have to pay the normal accountant that I normally use. Now I didn't pay him only because he retired, but instead of trying to find a new one, I just said, well, why don't I just go online and see what I can do? And yeah, I mean, it took me 3 to 4 hours of doing work and finding forms and typing in numbers and all that kind of stuff. But
you mean TurboTax?
No, it was a different one.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we can get them to sponsor us.
Sure.
It was an online tax preparation service / thing. And again, you still have to type in all of your information and know where to look for these boxes. But I can imagine that they're probably investigating AI to try to make things faster as well.
Probably.
So, yeah. So, I'm not surprised about accountants. I'm not surprised about mathematicians in terms of, calculating things. But again, I would also imagine that these roles, these people that are in these professions would use the technology to help make their lives a little quicker. And then you still there's still a lot of analysis and, thinking about how to do this kind of stuff. So,
yeah. I mean,
I'm not anti AI yet.
Yeah, I mean, so to what you were saying, I think it's just going to be an aid. It's just going to be an aid to professionals already, in their industry, for, the financial, markets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can definitely see AI being a tool, not a replacement. We're probably 20 years out. I don't know.
I mean, they're saying the same thing for, about automation in the, in fields that aren't knowledge worker fields. If you can get automated robots to do some of the things that are, they call it the dirty, dull, and dangerous. Obviously you want to, if you had a robot in a dangerous job, I'd rather have the robot get destroyed than a human get injured or killed. So, there is that. I
mean, even in, manufacturing jobs, automated manufacturing jobs where you do have, like, let's say the car industry.
Yeah.
Right? You have a lot of robots putting cars together.
Yeah, they've been doing that for 40 years. Yeah.
You still need people. You still need people you got to maintain the robots. You got to, what if one breaks down?
Right.
What if what if one actually messes up? Right. There has to be someone there to be like, hey, stop. We got to fix it.
Right. So it's a matter of job shifting. I'm sure that an accountant would figure out other ways to keep themselves, busy and working.
I mean, accountants had to do everything by hand in the past until calculators came out, right?
Right. And
computers and calculators.
and maybe bookkeepers would be more unlikely.
Yeah.
You need someone to check the work. I guess.
I mean, the calculator didn't replace accounts at all. You still need to know how to do it.
Right.
So,
all right. So, interesting story about those jobs, and I'm sure that people are going to be freaking out as always about the whole AI job thing. All right, let's jump to the next story. This mysterious space object that traveled through our solar system about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, where was I? I mean, I think I was I was still at IDG. I don't remember this space object, but that's a picture of it, or is that an AI drawing?
That's actually an artist's impression, an actual person's, actual artist's impression of it, not AI generated.
Wow. Okay. So basically, it was roughly the size of a football field, and it baffled scientists as it zipped through our solar system. The irregular shape of the motion of the object. Now it was dubbed Oumuamua. Oumuamua. That's about
Oumuamua
led to one of the most controversial astronomical mysteries, with theories ranging that it was a asteroid to an alien probe.
Huh.
Now, I always root for aliens to show up because that's a kind of a cool thing from the science fiction world. Now, it's probably cool. Like, well, either the aliens would come to destroy us, or it would be kind of like a War of the Worlds thing, and we fight back by sneezing on them. So. And again, there's a joke going around. I think this may have been a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon, which basically says the proof for intelligent life in outer space is that they've never tried to contact us. Like, if there was intelligent life in the universe, there would be no way they'd want to try to contact us, because
I believe it. I believe it.
We are not as evolved as other intelligent species that could travel light years. And we're probably smarter than us. Anyway, there was a study that was published this week in the journal Nature, which basically says, here's the other answer. Oumuamua is a typical comet that expelled gas in an odd way as it traveled through our solar system. So basically, it was a farting comet. But I always wanted I love these sort of space mysteries, and then it just ends up that the scientists ruin it for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because that does look like a giant spaceship that could be, on its way to contact us, and it would be like...
It's an intergalactic frisbee.
And there was an actual pronunciation in that article. It was... Where did it go? Oh, I had it and I lost it.
I think I got it right here.
Do you have the pronunciation?
I just saw it.
Oh, yeah. Oumuamua. Oumuamua. It's Hawaiian.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds Hawaiian.
Okay. So, what's your opinion on alien life or intelligence in the universe? Do you think about this at all, or you're like,
no, not really.
You just don't have the time to think about it?
I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, other than that, it's just speculation.
Are you ready to join the forces of Earth that are ready to take over? They're ready to take over our planet.
You mean Space Force?
Well, no, I don't think. No, I think it would be more like space militia. I have a feeling it would be more. It wouldn't be very organized if space aliens did attack. It would be like a ragtag bunch of IDG employees gathered, band together to fight off the aliens that are attacking us.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I have no idea.
There's a Simpsons joke out there too about aliens landing, and Ken Brockman was like, "I'm happy to serve our new alien overlords." Like that's what would be like. If the aliens do come and attack us, I'm ready to basically be a YouTube podcast host for them, for the alien version of YouTube.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm ready to learn. All right. We're going to shift again into another story. I did want to talk about this a little bit, and we are definitely shifting gears because Gordon Moore, who was the Intel co-founder and the creator of Moore's Law in technology, he did pass away last week at the age of 94. And as my grandmother always said, 94, that's a good run. So anything over the age of 90, I'm pretty sure you've had a pretty good life right at that point, especially if you're famous.
Yeah.
Gordon Moore was the electronics pioneer who co-founded Intel and whose groundbreaking theories defined the tempo of innovation in semiconductors, did pass away at the age of 94. Moore's Law in the IT space was, it was a constant source of news for us because we could always, chart what the processing speeds were and, is Moore's Law still existing? And I think a lot of people are now saying that it's sort of tailed off. Like it went like this for a while and then it still goes up, but I don't think people care as much now about processing speeds as they did in the 80s and 90s. I think it was like in those days, in the early days of computers, and I think you were probably not around, Chris, but that was a big deal for
two
those
megabytes was a lot.
Yeah.
Back then. I
know. And so I just think that the speed at some point just sort of tailed off because people just didn't really, but I mean, they just don't care much unless you're into that hardcore kind of processing speed. If you are, go visit the PC World channel. In the Full Nerd.
Adam and Gordon.
Adam Gordon. They love talking about overclocking and all the nitty gritty parts of a PC.
Yeah.
I just want the application to work. And, when I push the power button, and again, I used to be that way. I used to, love computer games and all that stuff. But then, I got older and less interested in the PC space and more interested in console gaming and things like that. So it was a logical transition for me to stop caring about processing speed.
I mean, it does beg the question, can we go faster?
I think we can always go faster, isn't it?
Yeah, and I believe it. And I think the applications you're going to see that in is mainframes, AI, algorithms, stuff like that, cloud processing, and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think what they're going to develop instead of just one, obviously instead of just one single processor, instead of the CPU, then you started getting GPUs. Now you're getting AI chips. And so you can always make it faster by offloading a lot of the work onto these different specific chips. I mean, that's what NVIDIA is all about too. Yeah.
Is about that. So, as we get into some of these new applications, you're going to need speed. And of course, you're going to have to go back to the processor at that point in the chip. So rest in peace, Gordon Moore. And all right, moving on. Twitter says parts of its source code were leaked. What do you know about this, Chris?
I think it's real. I think it's real, and I don't think it. I don't think it was accidentally leaked. I think there was an individual out there who openly leaked it.
Yeah. Basically, parts of Twitter source code was leaked online, according to a legal filing. Basically, as the company continues to reduce its technical issues and reverse its business fortunes under Elon Musk, it did feel like so Twitter moved on Friday to have the leaked code taken down by sending a copyright infringement notice to GitHub, which was the online collaboration platform where the code was posted. Interestingly enough, so they did take down the code, but then it appears to have been public for at least several months. Yeah. Then so my first instinct again was that someone, who doesn't like what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter, basically I'll show you, I'll post the source code or parts of the source code.
I mean, hey, at least he's being transparent.
Right. But then you found that he actually said on March 17th that it was going to open source all of its code.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, what do you think about that? Kind of, sharing your code out into the open like that. I mean, it's basically going to become, that's something you see with open source software, right?
Yeah.
Because then people can look at the code, they can kind of take that, they can kind of make, plugins or attachments to software. And I don't know. Like I've been thinking about it recently. And it's like, is that a good thing for Twitter? Is that a bad thing? Definitely makes you think about it. But
yeah, I think that as long as he is sort of the owner of Twitter and the head of it, and you're going to have people on both sides that are just going to be either annoyed with him or praising him. And I don't know. I think he wants to, didn't he say he wants to find a CEO at some point?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like his take on all this changes by the day. He's kind of hard to follow. I don't know. But I think what he's doing with the code and stuff, what we're seeing here, I mean, that's cool.
Okay, you know? According to Twitter's legal filing, the person who leaked the source code appeared to go by the name Free Speech Enthusiast. So is that someone who likes Elon Musk or doesn't like Elon Musk?
I don't know. I mean, what he's displaying right here, that's a pretty good use of free speech or
I know. I mean,
charity,
but then Musk, he gets mad at the person that keeps tracking his plane.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, well, free speech could get you to a certain point, but if you start, threatening people via these free speech things, it gets really ugly. I'm trying to avoid as much Elon Musk discussion as I can.
I mean, it's like, yeah, you're going to release a source code. Like, that's cool. Like, how can you get mad about that?
Well, people are mad. So, all right. And now for our final story that we want to talk about. It's the Wall Street Journal has declared that the work from home era is ending for millions of Americans. This is based on a Labor Department study, which is basically saying that 72.5% of business establishments said that their employees teleworked rarely or not at all last year. And this is the Labor Department again. That figure climbed from 60% in 2021. The survey showed about 21 million more workers are on-site full-time in 2022 compared with the prior year. Basically, they say an establishment is defined as each business location, such as an individual restaurant and a chain. The new number is also close to the share of establishments, 76.7%, that said they had no employees teleworking before COVID-19 and that were open in February 2020. Okay, so basically employers are pushing harder to get to their staff to work on-site more often as recession fears prompted an increased emphasis on worker productivity. So now you pulled up, Chris, the interesting chart here, which is the share of private sector establishments with some or all employees working remotely. Yeah. In the private sector, we're at about now 27% have employees that are working remotely. That would mean the 70-something% are not working remotely. Interestingly, the highest number is in the information space, and this includes kind of companies that are in the IT space, which a lot of our audience is in.
Yeah.
But also the information tech media, which is technology media companies like us and things like that.
Basically communications, essentially.
Whereas the lowest would be food services and hotels and things like that. And, a lot of these are obvious because, you need to go to a grocery store. The grocery store, you can't work at home if you work at a grocery store. You can't work at home if you work at McDonald's. You can't work at home if you're making cars.
Right.
But what this does say is it appears that if you are sort of a knowledge worker, if you have a job that sort of requires you to be in an office, or if you're in an office versus in a more, public facing type of position, it's more likely that you'll still have a hybrid working environment. And so I think that number is always going to be high for sort of our space. It may come down. You may see it down to 50%.
Yeah, and I wonder too, it kind of makes you ask the question, like, is there worth to meeting in person when it comes to your job? Like, just in general. Like, if we have all these hybrid workers now, like, is there worth behind having them meet in person at all? Maybe on like on and off basis. I don't know, like weekly or monthly or something like that. I don't know. And
we've talked about, there was the Gallup poll that came out last week that we talked about, where they're recommending that if you are going to have a hybrid work kind of environment, that, you reserve like the 3 days during the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for most of the face-to-face stuff. Monday, Friday is generally I guess it's okay to sort of work, from home. There are companies that are going to a 4-day work week. When they do that, do they do it as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or do they go to, do you get Monday off? I guess it doesn't matter. It's still 4 days.
It's probably either or.
There are experiments that show that makes people more productive. I don't think that this debate is ever going to go away, but there was another story in Computer World that our pal Lucas Marion wrote, where he interviewed the CIO at Cisco. Did a Q&A with him about the challenges of the hybrid workplace. And he basically said in this question, in one of the questions, where he says, the policy was that we want the office to be a magnet and not a mandate. In all likelihood, the role of the office is, for most people, not going to be a place where you go 8 hours a day to do work. It's going to be a place where we occasionally gather for some purpose.
Where is that?
It's in the middle of the story.
Middle of the story.
Just do a search on the word hybrid. Because there's another quote that I wanted to talk about in terms of technological. Where'd it go? Maybe it was above that. It says, this is the quote I wanted to talk about. When everybody was remote, it was a great equalizer because everyone was on a similar footing. Hybrid is a somewhat more complicated thing to solve in that you've got this total employee well-being to consider, including physical well-being, mental well-being, financial health, and being able to be productive in your job. That's not the one I wanted to talk about.
No, it's all right. You get the idea.
Working remotely removed a certain number of stressors, but it introduced other ones. So you don't have a long commute, and perhaps you can get away with wearing sweatpants for work, and that's all good. But is your internet reliable? Do you have a quiet place to work? Do you have a remote work setup that is high quality enough that you can read body language, detect nonverbal cues, understand when you're losing the attention of the person you're speaking with, and all of those things you'd benefit from if you were in a conference room together? So I've experienced the hybrid work journey, which I guess we'll eventually call work, because all work will eventually become hybrid in these 3 phases of technology, security, and culture. And so if you are sort of, you don't have to worry about the commute, and you don't have, there are certain things that go away. Like, for example, for today, I was, my commute took me an hour rather than 45 minutes because there was an accident on the pike. And, when that happens, you're just waiting in traffic until that goes away. So I lost a little bit of time because of that. On the other hand, you and I have a great sort of relationship. When I'm pissed, I know when you're pissed, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that more than when we're on a Zoom call. I think our Zoom calls don't last as long as some of our other meetings when we're
honestly,
face to face.
It's just boring. It's just boring. And I was just going to say, because they're saying in the article, like, we don't, working remote, you don't need to worry about the commute, driving, whatever the time it takes for you to get to work and all that. But it's like, at the same time, they don't know what other factors we have going on at home, right?
Right.
And it's like if you work in the office, the employer controls those factors in the office, right? Whereas if just working from home, well, you're at your home. Your employer can't really control those factors.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a decent internet connection in my home office, but if it goes down, I'm responsible for trying to get Verizon to fix the internet connection. If I'm in the office here, which has happened on a couple of occasions, I've come in and you were like, oh yeah, the internet's down or the Wi-Fi's down, and and then we just sit around for a couple minutes. But at least we know that they're getting it fixed as quickly as they can. Whereas if I'm remote, I would just text you a message, be like, oh, Wi-Fi's down, see you in a couple hours, and you'd be like, wait, no, or fix it, or so there are other issues that commuters or that hybrid workers and work at home workers, and I still think it's the discipline angle of it as well. You really have to have that discipline to work at home. And if you have the option, why not just go back into work? And I just, I'm starting to think that people might have forgotten what it was like to work at an office.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier. Yeah. I believe that.
Because it's been three plus years.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Especially if you have newer workers that maybe were introduced to this approach. I don't know. It's like... your analogy was always the cookie one. Like, we've been giving kids cookies.
Yeah, So what I say,
and when you take away the cookie, they're going to get mad.
Yeah, the employer, they gave us all candy, and then they're trying to take it away. And what do you think the responses are going to be? No,
There was an article a couple months ago that I didn't include in this week's roundup, but a lot of the perks are going away, and we've talked about this too at Twitter. Remember the wine glass thing, or the wine vending machine thing?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, when this round of tech layoffs, the latest ones that we're going through, you know, they eliminated the perks first, which is the right thing to do because you don't want to start laying off and still having the wine vending machine there.
Right.
But you know, I can't remember where I was going with this. It was basically that's the perks would be one reason to try to get people in the office. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, no, it's fine. And there are some employers out there. Yeah, you're right. Taking away perks, like health and fitness, reimbursement perks, stuff like that. There's other perks out there that employers are easing up. Maybe it's
free tattoos for employees on your arm.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. No, but
we don't get free tattoos.
No. But yeah, maybe it's a way of employers, trying to batten down the hatches, because of the economy.
Yeah, you know what I did notice today is that there are more people in the office today than have been in recent weeks. I don't know if maybe they're seeing these articles. They're like, oh, maybe I should go back into the office.
No, they're no. I don't know.
Just a Tuesday, it did feel, and maybe it was the winter. Maybe people were like, oh, the winter's over. Maybe in the
weather's nice.
Yeah, the weather's nice.
Warmer out. Hey, yeah. People are going in their cars. They're opening their windows when they're driving. Like, oh wow, fresh air, breeze coming in. I can turn up the radio. I don't know. It could be several reasons why. Maybe people, maybe there's work from home fatigue. I don't know. Zoom fatigue plus work from home fatigue. Maybe people just want to see people.
Yeah. And all the stories that we cover here on Today in Tech, I'm sure that we're going to be talking about this, more as more research comes out and more evidence, et cetera, et cetera.
But at the end of the day, we're kind of leaning towards we're right. No?
Yes. I wanted to call this episode I Told You So, or We Told You So. There was another story that I don't know if we're going to get to this on another episode or not, but Disney basically shut down its metaverse department.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that one.
And it was about 50 employees. It was part of their round of layoff, their recent layoffs.
I didn't even know they had a meta.
That was the problem. That's why we didn't really want to talk about it that much, because I didn't even know that they had a metaverse.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because Disney, they always try to pioneer in entertainment, right?
Yeah.
They had their whole animatronics and their theme parks. That was always groundbreaking. But, you always thought about what's the next step for their form of entertainment? And it's like, oh yeah, actually virtual reality, I could see that. But
it was probably something like enter the metaverse and go to Meta Disney World or virtual Disney World from your home. Put on your headset and then you could pretend to ride Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay. There and but you would have to still pay us $60.
Can I experience that at home?
What? Yeah, I mean,
it goes in line with work from home, so maybe I can go to Disney from home.
Yeah, that's the whole metaverse idea too.
Right.
There's another story that we didn't bring up, but there was another piece in the New York Times where Apple apparently has shown its AR/VR goggles to executives, and this is the $3,000. That number has not dropped in all of these leaks and rumors. $3,000 for this headset, AR/VR. The idea was, initially that this was the pitch that we heard. Like, it was a guy in a taxi cab. He's got these. No, he calls his wife, probably via FaceTime, and says, hey, I'm in London. You want to come with me? And then this wife puts on the goggles, and now she's experiencing London with the husband who's actually there.
That's sad. That's just sad. Like, wouldn't you want to be with him in London?
I don't know. That's one of the things that VR is supposed to be sort of looking at. I know there's a Japanese company that's trying to do this. You're like, hey, come visit this lake and virtually experience catching a fish on this lake. And they're actually using robots they're combining robots with virtual reality. Mm-hmm. So the robot will sort of toss the fishing pole into the lake, will catch the fish for you, but then there's a camera on the robot and then you experience sort of the fishing, or you control the fishing. I don't know. Very early stuff.
I mean, Japan has had robots for.
Japan loves robots, so
For
you know
ages.
it makes sense. And there was it's basically called an Avatar experience, which is based on the whole Avatar movie, which is someone was virtually pretending to be something else,
Right.
via robots. So yeah, go technology, right?
One could hope.
All right, and we got through the entire show without you talking about my awesome haircut that I have.
You got a haircut?
Yeah, I did. So that's all we're going to say about it right now.
Congratulations.
All right. That's all the time we've got for today's episode. Thank you, Chris, for joining us this week. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, add any comments below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.